Now I want to dive into the A's. There's a lot of things going on. They're currently in
Like what?
Sacramento.
Like what? What's going on with
Well,
the
they're in
A's?
Sacramento.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. I haven't heard anything that's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We can go into different
Yeah.
ways of that, but so they're in Sacramento. They're eventually in a few years plan to be playing in a new ballpark in Vegas, right?
Mhm.
But there's a lot of mixed feelings from the fans. You being directly with them, what are you hearing from both sides? I guess.
Well, from the thing I've been really impressed with how the Athletics are handling things is embracing the community. And it was really interesting because I got a lot of questions about the new debut of the Sacramento uniform in 2026.
Oh yeah.
And first of all, I didn't realize the guys like the gold uniforms way better than the Kelly green uniforms. That's a whole different thing. But I was just really impressed with the way that they embrace the community and vice versa. There was actually times where I thought it was funny. You could be a fair weather fan. I don't care, but because you're like giving us money for the sport that I love so much. But when I was walking around talking to fans, they're like, I'm just here because I want to get to know these guys. I don't know much
Mm,
about them. And I think that was kind of exciting too, because they're saying, I'm still trying to figure out my favorite player. And this was about halfway through the season. So I'm sure by now they have a few that they like. And sometimes it's like a fun atmosphere. A baseball game is a fun atmosphere. And I think we need to remember you don't have to like know stats to enjoy baseball. You can actually just go to a game and
mhm.
have fun. But the beautiful thing is I've seen a lot of familiar Oakland faces. They're at the stadium in West Sacramento. And luckily they care more about the team than anything because we had to adjust. It's a new stadium, and Mark Kotze talked about it recently, and because of course he's getting asked about it. The facilities are the facilities; they are what they are. The amenities are what they are. The clubhouse is gorgeous. It's a brand new clubhouse. It's a two-story
Okay.
clubhouse, which I never had been a part of, but they get taken care of there. It is kind of funny to watch, Cots get ejected and he has to walk all the way down to the clubhouse, which is behind the outfield. And
That's
for
funny.
me, I didn't. Yeah, and so for me, it's more or less just like I think once the move actually happened, they were able to concentrate on baseball. Which the second half, like the team went off, and it was so much fun to just
Good.
concentrate on the baseball stuff because last year was what's going to happen if they move or when they move, and now that it happened they can concentrate on baseball a little bit more. And that's something that I was really excited to cover because I was there for the last game at the Coliseum. It was like one of the best days of my career and my life. And knowing that that I can like hold on to that so well, and the pictures and the history and just embracing it and being able to know that I lived that life with that amazing team and the amazing city and the amazing history involved,
Hmm.
and not realizing that, watching Dave Stewart on TV and now I can, talk to him about anything baseball related. Those things don't leave you. A franchise is a franchise. It's still going to be your numbers in the history of a certain franchise. It's not just necessarily a city, but yeah, it was
Hmm.
difficult. Don't get me wrong. I think we all knew that. Fans were emotional, and you saw that both on the first game of the season and the last game of the season in 2024. So it was interesting, and we made it work. But it's one of those things that I love the Coliseum. It was so unique. It was old school.
Yeah.
Like they literally called it the last dive bar because it was just so unique. And I'm from Reno, Nevada, where I love a dive bar, let me tell you. And so that's why I kind of resonated with it. Mind you, when I told you my first game I went to when I was 11, it didn't change when I was, 20 and then in my 30s. So I think it was one of
Right.
those things that I loved the most because it stayed the same. I know people like wanted to, and it did get upgrades and everything, but it still remained true and had like the old school feel, which Fenway's very old. People don't really bash on that. And so it's just one of those things that like it was beautiful, and I'm so glad to be a part of it. And it was history, both ending and the beginning of the Sacramento stuff.
Hmm.
But overall, it's been actually pretty great how the fans have embraced it.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. You are right. I mean, the franchise is the franchise. The thing is, the community or the city is being left to some degree, but at the same time, the stats and the players and all that and the passions can still be moved to somewhere else, right?
Right.
Um, so no, that's fascinating. Now, those that are watching and listening, in case they don't know like what exactly is going on with the A's, can you kind of give an overall like summary of what's happening, especially if there's anything new in the last few weeks that I haven't even looked into? regarding
Like
the Vegas.
oh, Vegas.
In terms of Vegas, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they broke ground.
Okay.
And if you want to like follow, the A's are being very good about posting the upgrades. There's actually like a live footage of the construction going on.
Really?
They broke ground last season,
Okay.
and or during this season, this past season. And it was one of those things where even A's GM David Force said, like, how many times have I said, waiting to break ground? And they did. They had a full-on ceremony for it. And so it's kind of like, oh, this is actually happening. And they have the renderings out. It looks gorgeous. They had they had the guys coming out. Yeah, I had the guys coming out and like meeting with locals and embracing Vegas. And, I'm kind of not part of all that just because I have to, do all my stuff, back in the studio and make sure the team's being covered.
Mm-hmm.
But it's looking really, really cool and great. And
where can we find that live? Sorry to cut you off, but I want to know before I forget to ask you, where can
it's just
we
the
find
athletics website,
MLB.com
/athletics. Yeah. And they tweet about a bunch of stuff too, like on their social.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe as I'm a realtor, so I feel that that's going to help the Vegas community, just like the Raiders stadium did as well. And it's going to bring some more life into the area. And then selfishly, I want to go to those games as well because it's so much closer to me.
It would be really cool to like have like bottle service at like an A's game. That's the goal. That's the next goal. I'm gonna have bottle service at an A's game. I think that'd be cool.
I heard there's gonna be like a luxurious adjacent hotel, adjacent to the stadium. There's gonna be a luxurious hotel is what I meant.
Yeah.
And rooms and a bunch of cool stuff, casinos. So I do see the positives. So, Rob Manfred, I think he's also excited for it. Again, there's the negative side. I don't want to, spare that away like that doesn't exist. But Jose Canseco is pretty excited about it. I think a lot of it's because he's also living in Vegas, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And he's also now a part of the Hall of Fame, which I was surprised for the A's that they did that. But I'm glad they did. I've always liked Jose, to be honest.
I love Jose. He's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite people in the world. Actually, because I was covering the Hall of Fame ceremony when the A's inducted him, and I was on radio, so I was listening to him talk, and he got very emotional. He was very honest. He goes, "This might be the only Hall of Fame I'm ever inducted into. Next podcast, I don't care. Put these guys in the hall. It pisses me off. Right. It just gets me so mad. Barry should be in there. Max should be in there. Clemens, the list goes on and on. But needless to say, to see him, be a human, because same thing. People don't know Jose Canseco or the Manny Machados or the Mark McGwires as people. They just look at them as, you want to talk about a number, know, and don't get me wrong, the records are there because they mean something, but it was a really cool moment. And I remember a lot of fans embracing that because they got to see Jose and like how much he loves the game. And he played, you could see when he played how much he loved the game, and not just offensively, but defensively. And, the Bash brothers, and that was part of it. Like that took over the entirety of Major League Baseball. And of course I wasn't old enough to see it, but being able to hear stories about people who talked about it, Dave Stewart tells me all the time, and even picking Jose, and Mark McGwire remembers every little thing that took place when he was playing, and he still works with a bunch of the guys too, which is really cool. He's on our staff. And so it's just kind of one of those things where, the game hasn't changed much, which is great. I think as time goes on, I talked about Pete Rose, like my whole thing was he was going to get inducted maybe post-mortem, and that was always my thought, but it was just, you cannot fake how these guys played. I don't know steroids enough to know like the bits and pieces, but I don't think you can inject something and hit a ball over the fence. I don't think that's
it's talent. To make contact is talent. Either way, Jose was doing good. I don't know the numbers too much, but I know he was doing good even without the juice for a little while. But either way,
we don't know.
Right. Whatever he did a lot for the game. Like him and Mark McGwire, they really brought baseball back to be cool. So I love him for that. And then he also played for the Yankees for a minute, so I like him for that reason too.
There you go.
And I follow him on Twitter, or X, and I think a lot of the stuff he says is hilarious.
He's good.
Especially about A-Rod sometimes, even though I like A-Rod, but I like seeing the animosity there.
Merry Christmas to everybody except one